Wanna step up on us, diamond, 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 diamonds on my wrist. When I step up on us, step up on us.
Oh, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Freight Coach Morning Show. We are live from Phoenix, Arizona on this beautiful Tuesday, the 12th of April. We are here to break down a couple of industry headlines today, provide a different perspective out there for everybody. Hell, everybody jump in on the comments. If you're watching now live right now on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, jump in the comments. They all start filtering through. I want to get everybody as actively involved as possible out this. As you guys can kind of see, let me see, where's that? Boom, about right there. That's the logo of my sponsor, VHub. VHub app right now, you guys. They are graciously supporting me on this show. They are putting out there right now. And in my opinion, you guys, they are the future of freight brokerage. When it comes down to utilizing their platform, asset reutilization is the wave of the future for us here in freight brokerage, you guys. Everybody out there is always faced with this objection that we don't have assets, right? But I've never had a shipper once ask me to store a truck at their facility. So this gives you, on their platform, you guys, this gives you an opportunity to create a drop trailer pool, to do a lot of things, to get additional value added to your customer, because that's what it's all about. We need to separate ourselves. There's 18, 20,000 of us. It keeps changing every single week. I can't keep up with it, but there's a lot of us out there. Competition is stiff, and utilizing a company like VHub is going to be a great opportunity for you guys. Before we jump into our topics of conversation, and I'm going to take a sip of coffee here quick. Did you guys see with the national average prices for diesel, it dropped 7 cents this week? How great is that, right? It's bringing it down to only $5.07 a gallon. Yes, that is a real number. That is absolutely ridiculous to me that is the national average right now. And people are out there celebrating this. They're celebrating the fact that it's over $5 a gallon still, which is insane. And just compared to last year, it's only up $1.94 a gallon. It is absolute thievery at its finest, in my opinion, for what fuel prices have raised in that time frame. And, again, do your research out there. I get all of my information on the national fuel average right now. It is www.eia.gov. Check it out right now. It'll show you the rolling totals. It actually does a breakdown on a region basis for you out there. It's something that I use as a freight broker as well to kind of help price out when customers out there wanted a line haul rate plus fuel. This is a great thing for you to utilize to kind of provide that price point for them. We're going to jump into a couple of things. As a lot of you know, I was out at the TIA conference this last weekend, and one of the closing panels out there was with Noel Perry. And we talked, and he was talking about kind of what is yet to come. I mean, obviously there's a lot of catching headlines that are out there right now. And to me personally, there's just a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise, and there's market shifts. There's a bunch of stuff that happens every single day, every single year, the seasonality of it all. I saw a comment out there by my friend Eric Williams earlier today that, it's just probably a little delayed. Spot market, when those tenders bottom out and the tender rejections drop on that means that brokers are doing what they say they're going to do, and they're going to honor their contract, right? With such an odd concept at times. And then, asset carriers as well. So when the spot market becomes volatile like that and rates start dropping, it's due to the fact that carriers are and brokers are taking their contract rate because contracts are higher right now. If you took last year, for an example, that is completely how you bid in this year's RFP cycle. And, shout out to my friends over at Emerge right now. If you're on an RFP and your customers are, and they don't have a digital platform, you should probably check out with my friends over at Emerge. They can kind of help you guys out about that. But some of the stats that Noel Perry was talking about out there is that with all of the volatility over the last 12 months, well, at least Q4, for example, between Q4 of 20 and Q4 of 21, the average broker's margin per load remained the same at 13.5%. Now, this was all stats that were pulled from brokerages that were over 100 million in revenue. Something though that, to kind of take into consideration throughout that time frame as well, that the average invoice increased almost like $500, $550 out there, from $2,004 up to $2,558 by Q4 of 21. which, it was up $1,000 overall, though, compared to what it was in Q2 of 20, which was $1,564. So a lot of information out there about market shifts, about spot market tenders being rejected, people going out of business, and all this garbage that you hear. We still got to navigate through it, right? Because again, this isn't stuff that will ever go away. So how do you handle a market shift as a broker? Like, honestly, if you're out there sitting there right now, and here's one thing. I'm going to kind of go off on a little tangent here, you guys. I'm going to go off on a really big tangent because I've seen a lot of people over these last couple of years preach about this one word called relationships, right? We need relationships. Carriers need to focus on relationships. So are we going to practice that now that the market is shifting in our favor? Now, if we've developed relationships with carriers, they've held a load for us. They've been doing loads for us successfully for the past 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 months, whatever that looks like. Now that the market is shifting back in the spot market tender, are you going to actually live by that? That's a challenge for you all out there right now, because relationships go both ways. It's not only when it's beneficial to you, and that's the way that you really got to look into this. Also, with that being said, about the whole relationships are important thing, just because some of these carriers, might have put you in the ER over the last time frame doesn't mean you need to put them in the morgue. As my friend Robert Bain told me the other week. And, because at the end of the day, you guys, we can never afford to lose capacity. The main purpose of this show that we're doing every single morning, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, is to talk about how we can keep people moving, keep people in business, put the best practices out there, and just put a different perspective out there for people to follow along with. Because here's the thing, there's always going to be a market shift, right? Like, there's always going to be something that changes out there. I just think that it's a little bit delayed, kind of like what I brought up earlier, what my friend Eric Williams posted up, is that, a big part of me thinks it's delayed. I think the spot market is going to catch up. Because again, like, fuel isn't going down at, I know people are out there trying to celebrate the fact that fuel went down 7 cents a gallon, but it's an astronomical rate right now. How can, and then furthermore, carriers that are out there right now start pushing for, charging a fuel surcharge on your stuff. Reach out to my friend Adam Wingfield. He's with Innovative Logistics Group. So if you're not familiar with how to do a fuel surcharge, look into that. There's going to be a lot of opportunity that's out there during these market shifts, because market shifts happen every single year. As we all know, over the last 24 months, there's been a market shift, right? There's been something that has happened. And now this is an opportunity for us to actually focus on the one thing that we need to, and that's consistency. That is the greatest outlier. That is the greatest separator between a good broker and a great broker, is consistency. Because I can be good when it's easy, right? Like, I can be good when capacity is loose, there's a bunch of extra trucks in the area. I can be good. But to be great in this industry, it's when stuff like this happens, because the one thing that doesn't change, no matter what, for us freight brokers, is we need what? What is our product? And I talked about this as well. I talk about this a lot. What is our product? It's our carrier partners. So for us, we need to put that proof, execute upon that, and continue to provide capacity. Because again, we can sit here and celebrate that rates might be changing, but what doesn't change is the fact that you need that truck to show up at the shipper and the receiver. Otherwise, we don't get paid. We don't have customers at that point. So that's a way for you guys to look into. That's something for you guys to look into. That's going to be one of my biggest pieces of advice here, is to take this information that you're hearing about the market shift and remove it from your thought process, because it's noise. All right. It's noise. We need to execute still, right? Don't drive these rates down. Don't continue to drive and just bottom out a market for what? To put an extra $100 in your pocket? Is it really going to be worth that? Is it really going to be worth it? An extra $100? And shout out to Andrew Teal. He's coming with some gold as always. Spot and contracted rates and capacity versus those will be impacted primarily by demand and not fuel prices. If shippers don't need the truck because inventories are high and demand for consumer products isn't there, they don't need the truck at any price. It's very true. Another thing about doing your research out there, ladies and gentlemen, is there's a lot of great perspectives out there. And if you're not connected with my friend Andrew Teal, you need to be connected with him. And wherever you guys are looking on, if you're on LinkedIn, connect with him there on LinkedIn for sure. So again, moving forward with this over the next couple of weeks, the seasonality of freight is really going to start going up into full effect. Again, I think that we need to remove the the variables that we can't control. What can we control? That's providing capacity to our customers. We can provide that. Yes, rates are always going to be volatile. Rates are always going to change. But my biggest thing is you should be looking for that consistent carrier base that's out there right now. And let me see, Andrew Teal again. Seat of the Pants was in the mall, and 70% of the stores were running sales and discounts between 30 and 60%. Demand is high. You don't put merchandise on sale. It's also a very good point as well. Let's see, Samantha Bass is out there. It's crucial to be transparent with your customers and your drivers during time when fuel prices are astronomical. If you have good carriers, treat them as such. Yes, that is very true. And that's something that we need to do. Plain and simple. Again, it's like we got to control what we can control. We can't sit here and focus on, I'm going to get that carrier back, regardless of what has been done to you. Like I had mentioned yesterday, if you want to change this industry, be the change you're looking for. All right. Don't play these games that are out there. If services dropped off, get rid of them. Go out there and actively sell. I think we need to get away from this mentality that we're carrier posting reps, because I get it. It's easy. It is so much easier just to go out there and hit post and wait for the inbound phone calls. But that's just not the way that this industry works. All right. That is not the way that any of this is going to happen consistently. That might work a little bit. But if you want to successfully build a book of business on the carrier side or the customer side, you better work towards getting them carriers off of the load board. Same with your customers as well. Because if you're sourcing your carriers on the load board, chances are your customers are sourcing your competition off of a load board as well. They're looking for another reason. Give them a reason to not be out there. Again, I think that's the biggest thing that you can do. That's the biggest value add. And I talk to my clients about this all the time. Keep your carriers and your customers off of the spot market. That is where you will find some of the greatest value that you need in this industry to truly separate yourself from the competition. All right, we are going to jump into topic number 2 here after I take a swig of my coffee, Black Rifle Coffee. I can't wait for you guys to be an affiliate with me at one point in time. Let me see. Yeah, you know what, Andrew Teal, before we jump in, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Remove the charge for your hitting from quick pay. Help them with the cash flow if you can. Again, it's like, how can we help our carrier partners that are out there? Giving them that information, that's key. Again, like I'm not going to ever sit up here and say that people don't deserve to make money. I'm a big fan of making money. I think there's, a lot of us in the audience right now that are watching that are fans of making money. But how do we keep people in business? Again, 97%. I want you guys to really think about this. 97% of the trucks on the road are small carriers, 20 trucks or less. How do we keep them in business? All right. I'm not advocating for anything like this to ever happen, but if one of the major players left the market, it doesn't even affect like 1%. Think about that. So how do we keep people profitable? And again, I'm not going to sit here and say it's your responsibility to, but if there's something that you can do to help elevate them, again, massive value add that you can add to some of your carrier partners, talk to them about this stuff. If there's a factoring company, my friend Taylor Monks with basicblock.io, they got some cool stuff coming out there as well. Look into that stuff. Help educate people because that's what it's all about. It's the value you can add out there. Let's see. Genevieve Banner. Good morning. I've completed the freight broker agent training. I'm ready to get started as an agent. How do I get my foot in the door? Most brokerages are you looking to get your foot in the door as a broker somewhere, or are you looking to get your foot in the door with some shippers? If you could clarify that, I'll get to that here in a little bit. Article number 2 is from FreightWaves this morning. It was from yesterday afternoon, that truckers are filing coercion complaints with the feds at a record pace. This was a very interesting read to me, and you could find this article at freightwaves.com where they kind of broke all of this down. And as of last Friday, there was close to 500 such complaints against employers, shippers, and others that truck drivers have filed with the FMCSA, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. And it literally is looking to break records with coercion, so, which is crazy to me because here it is. This is directly from the FMCSA's website on what it would be if coercion exists. As a motor carrier, shipper, receiver, or transportation intermediary requests a driver to perform a task that would result in a driver violating certain provisions from the FMCSA's, HMRs, or FMCCRs. the driver informs the motor carrier, shipper, receiver, or transportation intermediary of the violation that would occur if the task is performed, such as driving over the hours of service limits or creating unsafe driving conditions. The motor carrier, shipper, receiver, or transportation intermediary makes a threat or takes action against the driver to work on opportunities to get the driver to take the load despite the regulatory violation that would occur. All right. So what does that mean? That means that you're out there telling these drivers to keep pushing when we know it's like a clear violation out there. I think the general rule of thumb, if you're new to this industry, or hell, you might not even look on or even know this, general rule of thumb for hours of service is, generally speaking, after you're loaded, and if you're out west here, like, there's a lot of open areas, drivers can kind of hammer down out here, not advocating for any of that stuff. But for us, it is more 550 to 600 miles is a number that a driver can get in their clock. And if you don't know the rules on that, like the 14 hours, 11 hours drive time, 3 hours break, if you don't know the 7-3 sleeper berth break and all that fun stuff, you guys should really educate yourself on that. Because again, here's the thing. If you're asking to do something like in the old days, again, I'm not advocating for any of this, but I know in the old days, there's a thing called paper logbooks, and it was a little bit easier to fudge the numbers. Not saying anybody did, but not, what I mean. I think educating your customers on that, letting them know that, hey, a driver can't really get 700 miles in a 24-hour period when you're factoring in loading times and everything else. So, and then furthermore, if you're doing that, yeah, you deserve to get reported, because you're putting people's lives on the line, not just the driver. At the end of the day, you're putting innocent people on the road. Fatigue is a real thing. And this is going to, should I start a tally on this? We call this day one, that truck parking still a major issue out here. I think we should do that. We should do a daily truck parking tally that goes out there until something like this is fixed, and we can get some actual solutions for our drivers out there. Because, again, that affects fatigue. What does fatigue do? It slows down your reflexes. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I know how I react when I'm tired, and it's not as most sound as if I can get some serious rest and everything else that's out there. So yeah, if you're out, because that's the thing, is it increases accidents, it increases driver fatigue, which leads to a bunch of really bad shit happening. If that's the way that you're acting, if you're pressuring somebody, if you're threatening somebody's livelihood out there because you think that they should do that, please just give the load back to the shipper and give it to a broker who actually knows what they're doing, so we can keep people alive and keep people safe. That's my whole thing. So that's a good article. I would read through it as well, and again, check out the FMCSA, and again, educate yourself. That's out there. That article was found at freightwaves.com, and take that into consideration, break it down, read it up. And again, if you're finding yourself in that, you might want to have a hard conversation with yourself, because lawsuits are real, you guys. Complaints are real. Let's see here. Going to get caught up on the comments. Barry Wimberly is out here. A lot of carriers are looking for a dedicated lane. If you offer them that with a decent rate and fuel surcharge, yeah, again, I think back to what we were talking about a little bit ago. If we get away from that, if we get away from the post and pray model that's out there, if you have an actual detailed conversation with the carrier, instead of saying, this is where it picks, this is where it delivers, this is what it weighs, this is what it pays, take it or leave it. If you actually find that out, and again, this isn't easy. None of this stuff is easy. It's just unconventional to the easy route of posting. But if you have a in-depth conversation with a lot of these carriers, they'll tell you where they want to run. There's a lot of great tools out there that will track all that information to you. Shout out to brokercarrier.com if you want to check that out. But that's the thing. We need to do that. We got to do better as a broker. You want to develop those things. You want to develop those relationships with the small carriers who know what lanes they run. That was the most success I ever found as a freight broker, when I had a niche region and a niche freight type that I went after, and I only found carriers that operated within that region. There's a lot of them. And guess what that region wasn't? It wasn't Dallas up to fucking Chicago, over to Atlanta and back to Dallas. It was Reno, Nevada, of all places, and everything in between there, going down to Southern California, over to Phoenix and back up. There's a lot of freight out there, you guys. We overanalyze a lot of this stuff. Roland, beating the pavement. Yeah. I mean, I am a massive fan of showing up at places and just introducing myself. I think that's against the grain in a lot of areas for us. Cold calling is still the most effective tool, because again, obviously, I'm a massive fan of social media. I'm a massive fan of having that content work for you 24/7 and everything else. But at the end of the day, you're trying to set up an introduction with them. I mean, I've never closed a shipper over an email. If you have, let me know how it went. I'd love to be educated on how you sent a cold email and then they all of a sudden gave you millions of dollars worth of freight and never spoke to you once. But I think that, because that's the whole end result. I'm just a firm believer, like, yeah, utilize social media marketing, utilize emails to try and build some familiarity to catch their attention for when you do call, but never get away from that. I found a ton of value in just going and knocking on doors and everything else, man. That's what I was all about. Andrew Teal, while the number is up baseline 3.5 million drivers in the US, 500 is a number that is lower than I anticipated. Yeah, man, that's true. I agree with you on that. Vitaly, cold calls are hit and miss. Cold emails too. Depends on your research and approach. Let's see. Carla, what's up, Carla? Good to see from you, or good to hear from you. Let's see. Barry I've been driving for a while, 60 miles per hour. That's pretty good average run time. Northeast, once you get past Pennsylvania, drop it down to 55. Yep, that's another thing as well, is getting out there and researching a lot of that stuff. Stephen Peterson from Minneapolis, that's right next to my hometown. Let's see. I'm just trying to get caught up here. Samantha Bass, trucks are parked off the ramp because there's no capacity truck stops for them to get park and rest time. As men and women drivers do so much, we have to. Yes, Samantha Bass, I agree. Yes, Roland, research. Again, I think, and then here's something for, I'm sorry, Genevieve as well. If you're starting out like this, do not cold call a shipper without knowing what product they ship. I think that, like, again, I don't know what freight school or agent program you went through or anything like that, but please do your research. All right, research the shipper, find out what they do. I mean, because again, we're not the best at everything. You're never going to be the best at everything. I'm not the best at everything. I'm just really fucking good at a couple of things, and I want to exercise my strengths and go through with that. Let me see here. Sherman Barnes is another guy that yes, Sherman Barnes is great. He's a great follow as well. I check him out. Vitaly, is he giving me a compliment? Oh my God, I love it. This is my brother from the GTA. Wish more brokers were specialists in connecting customers and carriers for specific lanes types. Hey guys, just an FYI. You always got to hear it from the horse's mouth. Not calling you a horse V, but it's just the saying we have down here. Stace, what's going on? If you put your carrier's needs first and then match with them, the world comes together. Get to know your carriers. It's very true. James Bradley, what's going on, brother? And there's Vitaly out there. All right, we got caught up on the comments here. All right, the final article we're going to break down. This is kind of a cool one. I am actually a big fan of this. So this was from www.truckinginfo.com. Again, I'm citing my sources. My 11th grade English teacher is going to be super happy with me on that. A new bill aims to reduce truck driver tax liabilities. Kind of back to what my friend Andrew Teal was talking about earlier about the quick pay fees and everything else that's out there. So this is a joint effort. This is brought to it by U.S. Representative Abigail Spanberger and then also Representative Mike Gallagher. And Abigail is from Virginia, and Mike Gallagher is from my old stomping grounds of Wisconsin. Shout out Cheesehead Nation. It's the Strengthening Supply Chains Through Truck Driver Incentives Act would provide a short-term and fast incentive to attract and retain new drivers. Specifically, the bill would create a 2-year between 2022 and 2023 refundable tax credit of up to $7,500 for truck drivers holding a valid, let me put that up, valid Class A commercial driver's license and who drive at least $1,900 in a year, or 1,900 hours, excuse me, not $1,900. Additionally, it would establish a new refundable tax credit of up to $10,000 for new truck drivers or individuals enrolled in a registered trucking apprenticeship. This tax credit would also last for 2 years, and new truck drivers would be eligible for this credit if they did not receive a commercial truck in the previous year or drive at least 1,420 hours in the current year. They may receive a proportion of the credit if they drive at least 1,420 hours in the year, but they drive at least an average of 40 hours per week. It's endorsed by all the big hitters out there. My friends over at the ATA, they're on top of this. CEO Chris Spear says this bipartisan bill would make a meaningful difference in the lives of our new truckers, further elevating the profession as one of the few available jobs in today's market that provides a stable career path to the middle class without costly burden of a 4-year college degree. I like this a lot. And, again, it's like, I understand that it's not our job to like run somebody else's business for them, but talk about a value add, talk about building a carrier loyalty base. If you're out there, um, if you're out there bringing this information to them, if they're aware of it. And then, furthermore, call your elected officials. Call your elected officials and bring this up. We need something like this to pass because, again, and I'm going to say this every fucking show, we cannot afford to have any trucks leave this market. We cannot afford to have any drivers not stay in this market. All right. If we want this industry to improve, we need to be better. All right. I'm not telling you to write a business plan for them, but how great would this information be to some of these newer trucking companies out there that might not know about this? I think that would be a pretty good idea and a massive value add, and it's just one of those situations where how do you separate yourself? Because again, we're a service provider. Like as a broker, we literally own none of this. We don't own the freight. We don't own the trucks, right? We're a service provider. So why not provide a service, fucking shocker, to our carrier partners and our customers? Keep these companies in business. So again, check that out. Stace, I'm repeating that right now. I'm citing my sources, you guys. I'm citing my sources. It is at www.truckinginfo.com. And the headline of the article is New Bill Aims to Reduce Truck Driver Tax Liabilities. Talk about that. Barry, just another suggestion. To find out parking availability for your carriers, download the Pilot Rewards app. It actually tell you a buy store or a buy truck stop by how many spots are left free or the ones you have to pay to reserve. That's great. And again, as brokers, we could definitely do that. I'm not a lawyer. My armchair attorney friend is, Cassandra Gaines is. She's a lawyer. We can't give out directions, but if you're going into a certain area, and again, talking about building carrier loyalty, if you're going into a specific facility, research, are we calling those facilities? Are we finding out, do they have on-site parking there? Or are we finding out, is there a truck stop in that area that we could possibly use for our drivers? I think that's a massive value add. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Carrier that's going into this region that they've maybe never done before. This is a brand new area for them. There's a Love's a couple miles down the road. You should check them out in this city. Again, don't give out directions, brokers. It will end bad. But it's just one of those things. What more value add can we find? Hell, even take it a step further. I'm not saying you pay for their parking. That would be pretty cool, though. Look into paying for their parking. It's not as expensive as a lot of us think, but let's look into that. Let's find that and try and add as much value as we possibly can. Take it a step further, too, at some of these facilities. If there are a lot of large facilities that are out there, find out exactly what gate the driver needs to check into, what dock door the driver needs to check into. Again, level up. Stop doing it easy. Stop taking the lazy route. Trust me, it's going to work out for you. Tax burden down on those are also important to the entire economy overall. Transportation is huge. Yes, Andrew Teal. Again, call your elected officials. All right, that's cool. I could tell. I mean, he's from Wisconsin. Let's be real. Everybody from Wisconsin is pretty badass for the most part. Let's see. In Stace, I got to that. V, yes, all of us need to be better carriers. For third part 3PLs for customers, we should be working on it. Yes, V, 1000%. We should all be working together on this. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say we're all going to sing Kumbaya and everything else, but if we want this industry to change, we have to change. The fact that, again, I'm going to add this to the tally. The fact that there are shippers and receivers out there that do not allow bathroom use by drivers is insane to me. Again, I understand that there might be some insurance shit that's out there, but why? What can we do? And I know that and speaking of that, we all need to be better. All right. So I know that there's some shit out there that happens where people are destroying the bathroom. So I see all sides of the fence, but what more can we do? Again, as my friend Vitaly says, we got to work together on this, you guys. And then here, $12 to $15 for 24 hours. Okay. So, hey, there we go. That's not too bad, right? If we get out there, again, check with your insurance agent, check with your legal. Let me preface all of that and see and just make sure. But I think that would be a huge value add. I mean, like I had mentioned in some content the last week, be a broker of choice out there. Be a broker of choice to our carrier partners. That's what's needed. You'll never fall into this capacity crunch that people like to talk about. Again, keep your customers and your carriers off the spot market. That's kind of it. Just a brief recap. Diesel price, national average, still at $5.07 a gallon, which is ridiculous. Some people are celebrating that it dropped. I understand, but that's still up almost $2 a gallon by this time, from this time last year. Again, www.eia.gov is my source on that. My first one was about Noel Perry's closing panel at the TIA conference. Check that out as well. And then the other article was from FreightWaves on the truck driver coercion complaints. And the last one was from truckinginfo.com on that bipartisan bill that's out there. That's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. That was a quick 30 minutes. I got to read this because Dan the driver Rowe is one of my favorite people out there. I had the pleasure of talking to him on the phone. Back in the day when most brokers were former drivers, there was a wealth of information available from the brokers. Not so much nowadays. Brokers need to educate themselves. Yeah, 100%. I'll take it a step further. If there's a way for any of you brokers out there to do a ride along with the truck, your perspective will insanely change on how this is. So that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Again, we will be live tomorrow at 8:30 Pacific time, 10:30 Central. As always, I appreciate you guys all so much. New podcast drop today, Coffee with the Freight Coach, available on iTunes and Spotify. If you found any value of this, drop me a follow. Drop me a subscription on YouTube. I appreciate you guys all so much, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. And we